Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about meditation. Yeah, and its importance really when it comes to this spiritual walk. So, what is meditation? First of all, in my own experience, meditation is really becoming uh, a oneness, becoming one with the idea upon that which you are meditating. Right now, in that regard, I would like to point to another aspect of meditation that is not really about contemplating something, but more of actually a cessation of thought. Yeah. So the reason this is important is that cessation of thought makes one really a vacuum. Right, so let's say when I'm meditating right now with no uh, planned idea of what I want to meditate upon, I just meditate. Right, that will cause a cessation of thought. Now in truth, you can't really meditate without us focusing on something. You need really an idea in essence, but that idea becomes, you become so how can I put it, you become so engrossed in the idea that your consciousness of this outer reality and consequently your consciousness of yourself actually vanishes. Right, so that is the idea that I want to point out. So when I'm meditating, right, I am focusing on an idea, but to the degree that I focus on that idea, my consciousness of my surrounding and everything else that I know about myself begin to vanish. Now, the idea of meditation that I want to bring forth is that you meditate on nothingness. The reason I want to bring this forth is that when we meditate on nothingness, we're meditating on the infinite, we're meditating on the very structure of life itself, or the very fundamentals of our reality, right? Because the, the biggest definition or the best definition of God, let's say, is actually nothing, because there is nothing in this reality that we can point to God. We can say is God, because to define is to limit, right? So when you meditate on nothingness, you are really meditating on the infinite nature or the infinite essence. So when I'm meditating, I want to focus on the nothingness, or on nothingness itself. In that regard, I am becoming, slowly and surely, I am making myself a vacuum. Right, I'm making myself a vacuum to be filled by the infinite. Now this happens when there is a cessation of thought. When thought stops, you begin to become less aware of this reality and more aware of the internal, until your internal becomes, your internal vanishes. It actually vanishes, because your engrossment now spreads forth to feel the nature, or to feel, or your attention actually spreads to feel the nature of who you are. And the truth is that you are I am. You are the individualization of this infinite being, this ubiquitous being, the I am. So as you meditate, that becomes slowly but surely your state, your state. You slowly feeling this infinite being, until you are engrossed in it. Right? So this is the idea, because self dies in the giving up of this mortal being that I am. I That portion of Joshua, that idea of Joshua begins to die when I meditate on the nothingness, on the infinite, because Joshua is a limited being, right? Joshua is a limited being in this 3D reality. Sooner or later, Joshua will be gone, but this nothingness, this ubiquitous energy, this ubiquitous I amness will always be there, right? So once you reach the state of thought cessation, then that idea of who you are vanishes. And once it vanishes, what begins to happen is that the infinite source begins to fill you. You are not your own anymore. You have surrendered yourself to the infinite source. And as your infinite source begins to fill you, or as the infinite source begins to fill you, you begin to slowly but surely tap into limitedness. You begin to tap into that infinite being of who you are. To the degree that you tap into that nature, to the degree that you tap into that state, you exhibit a certain level of dominance in this 3D reality. So that is the beauty of meditation. That is why so many people that have lived a meditative life, true meditation. I'm not talking about the superficial stuff that we see lately. No, I'm talking about true meditation, where your beingness aligns with your thought processes, right? These people exhibit a certain level of dominance upon 3D. These are the ones that perform miracles and all those kinds of things. To the degree that you allow yourself, avail yourself to this infinite nature, you exhibit a certain level of dominance in 3D. Now, the idea is not for you to exhibit dominance in 3D. The idea is not for you to subjugate 3D. No, the idea is for you to be one with the Creator. I am the vine and my Father is the husbandman. All right, Jesus says in the scripture, right? If you abide in me and I in you, we shall be one. All right, so that is the idea that you want. You want to abide in the infinite nature of who you really are. You want to abide in the limitedness or the limitedness of who you are. But to the degree that you surrender to meditation and its processes, will you become one with that nature, right? Until then, you will always be a victim of this 3D reality, to and fro, right? Not knowing what is happening to you, always in confusion. That is why the world is so much in confusion, because people do not really understand. They are out of touch with who they are, right? They're out of touch with who they are. A quick example, right? What kind of what has to happen for you to identify yourself as a man when you're really a woman? What has to happen to you to identify yourself as a woman when you're really a man? You see, you're out of touch with reality, with the beingness of who you are. Now remember, I am is limitless. Good or evil, I am would perform, because that is the nature of the I am. The I am performs, the I am just becomes. All right, it just becomes. It is not limited to morality. It is not limited to moral values and or moral standards that we set. No, it is not. It performs. That is why there's so much evil in the world, and good as well, though, right? There's that balance, never forget. So when people are out of touch with this true nature of the I am, they misuse it, right? They misuse it. They let their imaginations go rampant, and when imagination goes rampant, evil happens. When imagination goes rampant, something out of what has been set as the standard, there is a contortion in divine way of things moving. All right. So when you allow yourself though to be in this state of I am, you begin to see the true nature of things. You begin to understand the real way things move, right? The reality of things, and you do not just go blindly in the world and just following every craze and every group of people. No, no, no. You rest in the I am. You rest in the quintessence of who you are, because you know that you and your creator are one. So practice meditation. Follow the channel. I'll be pointing out some keys to help with meditation, what I've been using in my own life to grow. And please subscribe, and see you next time.